Welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Ubani. This week, U.S. President Donald Trump has had a busy week signing executive orders. He signs one that affects millions of people miles away from the United States. It's the one barring migrants and refugees from several Muslim countries. The order went into effect as soon as the president signed it, and arrests have already been made of those affected, even if they were on board en route to the United States. Now, this is an order that is drawing reactions from countries affected and outrage from rights groups and some lawmakers within the United States, which say the border control people are being unfair as they're keeping away those who genuinely need to be in the United States.
U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order has left migrants, right groups and countries confused as to what it really means. The 72-year-old president spent his first week in office signing off on almost a dozen executive orders. But the most controversial of them all, on Friday, he signed an order suspending admission to the United States of all refugees for 120 days and bars for 90 days the entry of any citizens from Iraq, Iran, Syria, Yemen, Sudan, Libya and Somalia. The goal is to screen out people the president terms radical Islamic terrorists, but priority for admission would be given to Christians. Around the world, the order is interpreted as a Muslim ban, but the White House has denied this.
Totally. It's not a Muslim ban, but we are totally prepared. It's working out very nicely. You see it at the airports, you see it all over. It's working out very nicely, and we're going to have a very, very strict ban, and we're going to have extreme vetting, which we should have had in this country for many years.
It was not long before the executive order claimed its first victims at the JFK airport. 11 refugees, from among whom 2 Muslim men with valid visas, were detained.
The application of this is, dealing with the people we have here today, is particularly ridiculous. Even if you said that you wanted to keep people from certain countries out of the United States, once you have vetted certain people, once the American people have, the American staff people, the State Department people, the military people, have looked at a given individual and said, this person is no threat. They've looked at him for 2 years and they've given him a valid visa. And then while in the air, this executive order comes out, he should be permitted to enter the country. People would not be permitted, obviously, to get on a plane. They wouldn't get any more visas. But people who are in the air when this comes out should not suddenly be taken into custody in this country. That makes no sense at all. Because after all, the timing of the order, whether it's 1 day earlier or 1 day later, is entirely based on happenstance. And people have been coming into this country from these countries, and one more day for people who got valid visas who are in the air would make no difference at all. So a wooden application makes no sense, and an unconstitutional and disgusting application on the basis of religious discrimination violates every tradition of this country, and we're here to say this should stop and this should be revoked.
Let them see their lawyers! Let them see their lawyers! Here in my hand is one of the temporary restraining orders that right now, very simple and plain English, says that detainees here...
One of the men, former U.S. Army interpreter Hamid Khalid Darwish, was later released.
I don't know. This is a policy. I don't know. He's a president, and I'm a normal person. But I have a special immigration visa in my passport, me and my family, because I work with the U.S. government. I support the U.S. government from the other side of the war. But when I came here, they said no, and they treat me as I break the rules or do something wrong. I surprised, really. This is the soul of the America. Now this is what pushed me to move, leave my country and come here.
Here we have refugees who were granted legal visas to enter this country, and yet they had been detained illegally. That is the argument that both Congressman Jerry Nadler and I as well as IRA, the International Refugees Assistance Project, is making. I am begging you to go and revisit this. It's ill-advised, it's mean-spirited, it's tearing families apart, and that is not who we are. It will undermine the cooperation and collaboration that we need from Muslim countries to fight terrorism. It is wrong, and we will fight it today and every single day.
In solidarity with our Muslim brothers and sisters. With our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Iran has condemned the order as an open affront against the Muslim world and the Iranian nation and has promised to retaliate. Of the 7 countries targeted, it sends the most visitors to the United States each year, around 35,000 in 2015, according to the Department of Homeland Security. But there are other Muslim-majority countries not included in the list, such as Afghanistan, Malaysia, Pakistan, Oman, Tunisia and Turkey. The ban also extends to green card holders who are authorized to live and work in the United States. The order is, however, unclear how many legal permanent residents would be affected. The United Nations and a few other countries are concerned about the ban. The UN Refugee Agency and the International Organization for Migration have called on the Trump administration to continue offering asylum to people fleeing war and persecution, saying its resettlement program was vital.
We think refugees, asylum seekers, migrants of all kinds should never be defined by their nationality or their religion or their gender or their sexual preference. I mean, we understand there are issues involved with what's happening in some of these countries, but historically, danger does not come from refugees, and we don't have much of a record of dangerous people infiltrating with refugees, and these are checked so thoroughly for years, literally.
France and Germany voiced their concern on Saturday at a joint news conference in Paris. Germany has taken in more than 1 million refugees and migrants, mainly from the Middle East, since 2015. France, on the other hand, has taken in far fewer refugees than Germany since the Europe migrant crisis, with some of the country's ministers criticizing the country's open-door policy. When asked what she thought about the executive order, British Prime Minister Theresa May, who became the first world leader to meet with President Donald Trump last week, said, "The United States is responsible for its own policy on refugees, and so is the UK, whose policy on refugees is to have a number of voluntary schemes to bring Syrian refugees into the country, particularly those who are most vulnerable."
And in other diplomatic news, President Donald Trump's meeting with Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto will not be holding this week, but he will be meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on February 10th to confirm U.S.-Japan alliances and economic importance. Both leaders had spoken over the phone last week discussing the automotive industry. Trump has threatened a border tax on imports into the United States, and he said Japan has unfair barriers to foreign auto imports. Japanese officials have pointed out that there are no tariffs on foreign car imports into Japan and maintain there are no discriminatory non-tariff barriers. France's President François Hollande is calling on European countries to respond firmly to U.S. President Donald Trump whenever he undermines the integrity of the European Union by encouraging other countries to exit the Union like Britain. He's warned against the incitement of what he called extremist populism in the U.S., saying that Europe has a responsibility to protect its values for future generations.
Puisse convaincre les Européens d'aller plus loin ensemble. Parce que ce qui est en cause,
I am in favor of coherence persuading Europeans to go further together. What's in question is populism. The speeches we hear from the United States encourage extremist populism, and even the idea that will be no more Europe, that we should no longer be together, that we shouldn't welcome refugees, that we must question our agreements on the climate, that we should have protectionism. Europe is not protectionist. Europe is not closed. Europe is not without values and principles. This is what Europe must show in this period. And that will be the aim of the Rome meeting, the 60th anniversary of the treaty which founded Europe, we must be conscious of the responsibility that we have, not just regarding the generations which preceded us, who gave us the heritage of Europe and brought us these values. We must do the same for the future generations, because Europe is a force, Europe is a guarantee, Europe is a protection, and Europe is also a space of freedom and democracy, and I stick to that.
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Theresa May has welcomed a defense deal with Turkey. Britain and Turkey signed a defense deal worth more than £100 million on Saturday to develop Turkish fighter jets, opening the way to deeper cooperation over the lifetime of the project. The deal involves BAE Systems and Turkish aerospace industries working together to develop the TFX Turkish fighter program.
Finally, I'm delighted that we have today been able to mark the signing of a new agreement between TAI and the British business BAE Systems that will see the companies collaborating on the pre-design phase of Turkey's new fighter jet, the TFX. This is more than a trade deal. It is the start of a deep defence partnership that will contribute to our overall security. At the same time, we are today announcing a new and unique government-to-government agreement between Turkey and the United Kingdom that sets a new framework for cooperation and dialogue between our governments.
Now, at least 770 migrants and the body of a dead person were taken to port in Italy's Catalonia on Saturday. The migrants were part of some 1,000 people the Italian Coast Guard said were saved from the leaky boats in the central Mediterranean on Friday. During the operations, one person was found dead. The migrants were pulled to safety from 6 rubber dinghies and 3 wooden vessels.
Se ne mette il mare in tempesta, gli sbarchi continuano. Oggi sono arrivate oltre 700 persone che hanno messo a rischio la propria vita.
The migrants continue arriving despite the bad weather conditions and the stormy seas. More than 700 people who put their lives at risk arrived here in Catania today. Among them are several families with small children as well as many unaccompanied minors. We know that in 2016, more than 25,800 minors arrived on their own, a number that is more than twice as high as that of the previous year. Save the Children expresses serious concern over the new plan proposed by the European Union to stop the influx of migrants in the central Mediterranean. This plan includes the investment of €3 million to train up the Libyan Coast Guard in the search and rescue operations with the intent of stopping the migrants from setting off. Once again, the European Union shuns its responsibility in safeguarding the lives of these migrants. It is totally unacceptable that they are pushed back to a country that is so fragile and unstable as is Libya. President Adama Barrow has once again promised reform in the democratic process and a free media.
The media is here to educate people. If you educate them, you have empowered them to make their decision independently. I think we are thinking in that line, and we will be very, very media friendly. Because with the media, you have a lot to learn. With the media, it will help you to improve on where there is lapses. So this is something that we are thinking, and when we are talking about democracy, rule of law, you have to think about the media. The media must be free.
He however says that there's been no departure date set for regional troops. Speaking in the capital, Banjul, President Barrow said ECOWAS troops will stay as long as needed.
There is no time set for ECOWAS stay in the Gambia. They are here to help the process, and I think anytime we don't need them to continue in this country, we will work that out so that their services will finish in this country.